Okay, my friends, I think this is going to be a really great video. We're going to be talking about exactly how to hire, scale, work with, manage, and even fire virtual assistants. So firstly, let's explain and go over the undoubtable benefits of virtual assistants. So the first one is return on investment. So when I hired my first virtual assistant, I will never forget, she made one book in one day. This was not the first book she made, but after a few weeks, she made one book. It took her one day to make it. This is a low content book. And that's, to this day, is still my best selling book with like over 15,000 sales. So you can see that the return on investment of that VA, who I was paying like $400 a month to, is just something incredible. Like, admittedly, yeah, I could have made that book myself, but it was outsourced. And that proves that you are not always going to be the best person to do every single task. So it really shows the benefits of outsourcing. Let's look at number 2 now, which is this just gives you a lot more time to yourself. So if you're outsourcing 30 or 40 hours worth of book interiors per week, it actually becomes quite hard to find ideas of what to send them. So ultimately, this just saves you so much time in your own personal life, and it just gives you so much more time to do the things you want to do and focus on other things in life than just creating interiors all day. And especially if you've got a job, you don't probably want to be going to a job all day and then coming home and doing interiors all night. Like, this just takes a lot of your hands and it removes a lot of stress. So number 3 is going to be about hiring other people and the benefits of that to other people. So I would guess that right now, during the global unprecedented times, as they say, there's a lot of unemployment. So if you can actually go out there to the Philippines and hire somebody who maybe really needs the money, then they're going to be so grateful, and you're literally changing somebody's life by making one of these hires. You're going to be helping somebody's family to put food on the table, and that is really an incredible thing to be proud of. So this is why I'm so excited to bring you this lesson. And number 4 here, you can see, is collaboration. So like I've already alluded to earlier, oftentimes we think that we are the best at everything and we want to micromanage, but oftentimes when you learn to outsource and you get other people's ideas and inputs, often they can really boost your business. So those are the 4 undoubtable benefits to VAs. So now that you're sold on the idea, what does a VA typically cost you? So I would say it ranges from around $350 for the lowest end to $450 per month for a really good VA, which in the Filipino currency is between 17,000 and 22,000 PHP. I believe that's Filipino pesos for a full-time employee who's working, maybe 30, 40 hours per week. Now, I'm not much of a tyrannical controller, so I never really check how much my VAs are working. I just kind of let them get on with it. As long as they're doing all the work that I've sent them in the allotted time, I don't mind. If they get it done in 20 hours, they get it done in 20 hours. If it takes them longer, I also don't know. So that's just the way I do it. Maybe you want to be a bit more strict, and I'm going to show you some software that you can use if you do want to be more strict and check that they're always doing work like in the hours they say they are. We've alluded to the cost being $350 to $450 per month, or that's roughly works out to $4,550 to $5,900 per year. And you might think that's a really low salary. But if you look at this graph here, firstly, it shows you that average annual income is $3,430 Now, I think this data may be a couple of years old, but you can see we as employers of VAs are still paying them more than the average annual income, which I think is a really good thing. And there's another example to back this up here. Teacher salaries, so trained teachers in the Philippines are only getting between $14,300. So again, that's less than the minimum we're paying, to a maximum of 49,500 Filipino pesos. I would guess that this number is for maybe somebody with an advanced degree, or maybe they're like a lecturer in a university. That's most likely why this number is so high. So the overall summary of this slide is that you don't need to feel bad that you're only paying them $400 per month, because like I say, it's more than the average annual income, and it's more than some teachers will be getting paid as well. So you do not need to feel any guilt about that. In this slide, we're talking about employee and payroll taxes. So over here in the Western world, if you were to hire somebody, you're going to have to go through a lot of government bureaucracy to actually make that happen. And you're going to have to pay taxes on top of what you're paying the person, most likely to the government. You may have to set up a pension for the employee as well. So this all takes time. It's a lot more bureaucracy, and it sounds way more stressful. So this whole thing of having a VA, because they're classed as a freelancer and they're abroad, it's very simple, and it's no stress, and there's barely any paperwork to do either. So that's just another benefit of VAs, virtual assistants. We're going to be breaking this lesson down into 3 parts. So hiring, number 2 is going to be like management, communication, and working together. And number 3 is going to be about whether you should scale or whether you should fire employees based on certain metrics. So for hiring, we're going to be using a website called Online Jobs PH. I've used this multiple times now, and you can see just how much interest there is in people wanting to work for us. You can see here, this is my inbox. It's got 435 messages, and there's a bunch of them here. All people wanting to work for you, wanting to work hard. So the first thing you want to do is go and make an account. I will leave an affiliate link in the description below. I think you can probably save some money with that. You just need to sign up for a free account at first, and then when the time is right and when you're ready to hire a VA, you just want to upgrade to this Pro account here. You don't need the premium. Pro is absolutely fine. And like it says here, you can cancel when you're done recruiting. So the maximum you should need this for is 1 month, maybe 2 months at the most. So then once they're hired, once everything's set up, you can just go back to the free account and you can still do the payment. You can still message them and you can do everything you need to do. And you don't need to continue paying that $69 per month. So when the time comes, when you feel ready, when you feel like you've got too much work on your plate, you feel like you know what you're doing, you feel like you can easily coach somebody to create these book interiors for you, and you want to take some work off your hands, then it is time for you to hire a virtual assistant and create a wonderful job for somebody over in the Philippines. So it's time to create your first job post. So let's jump over there right now. I already have the tab open, and I have left for you this right here, which is a job template, and this is pretty much the one I use every single time. So all you need to do is copy and paste this into the description and then just basically fill in the blanks. So it says, I'm looking to hire a full-time VA who can create book interiors. And let's say we wanted them to make like children's activity books, which is my main focus. So you would just write that, get rid of this. These requirements you can adapt as you like, but these ones are pretty solid. Salary, I've said, starts at $400 per month, and then I've translated that into the rough amount of Filipino pesos. And then I've said salary is negotiable depending on experience. So if we find somebody really good who's maybe got some experience with KDP, we really trust them, we really like them, then maybe we can pay them more, maybe $450, maybe $500. It's completely up to you. And then we've said 13th month. We'll talk more about what that is in a minute. And I've said holiday time is included as well when they need to take a little break, which is absolutely fine with me. And then my whole ideology with this section here is that essentially, when you're using this online jobs platform, and if you were to just post a job just like this without getting them to email you, you end up with like a really messy inbox. As you could see with mine, it was like 435 messages, and it's so much hassle to go through those and go through all the pages. So what I do is I send them these questions, which work really well every single time, and I say, please send them to this certain email address. So you're just going to insert your email address. So it could be elitesociety@gmail.com, and that way you get all the applications straight to your email inbox, and it's way easier to look through all the applications. And I also tell them to include a link to their profile so that when they apply, we can go and see their profile and see if they match our criteria. And then I've simply said at the end, thanks for your time, name, and then company is optional. So that's pretty much all you need to do for the description. Here you go. It's auto-filled this from last time. Children's book creator, Amazon KDP. Type of employment will be full-time. It's way better to do this than part-time for reasons discussed later in the video. And then we need to include these parts here. So wage or salary, let's say $400 per month. ID proof, essentially what this is like verifying that their ID is good and that they're who they say they are. So I normally go with like above 80, but on the application you can only select a minimum of 70. So just set it to 70, and then I need to blur out this email address, but you're just going to type in your email address and write your contact name in here as well. And the final thing you need to do is select some skills. So we might say English, we might say writing. On here, we may say graphics. We may select Adobe InDesign, as I know that's a popular one for KDP publishers. And then we may select writing, so we might write ebook writing or content writing or something like that. And that is absolutely great. You're going to get so many applications. So that's everything you need to fill in. You can see how quick this is. As soon as you've got your pro account, you'll be able to submit this and it will be available for immediate posting, and you'll start getting applications within a matter of hours, obviously depending on the time zone. Just make sure you organize with your VA to kind of talk to them at a convenient time for you both, depending on your time zone. I know between England and the Philippines, it's about an 8 hours difference, but it really depends on where you are in the world. So just check that out and make sure there's some time in the day where you're both awake if you need to do some calls or something like that. So make sure to use this template to your advantage. It makes it really simple. And let's go through the next few steps. So it's time to wait for some applications to roll in. On your first post, maybe you'll get 20 to 30. It's possible you'll even get over 100. There was one that I posted a while ago, and I believe it got over 200 applications, which was just way too many, and it was very overwhelming. So in that scenario, it does take some time to filter through them and make sure you're selecting the right person out of all those applications. And like it says here, when we get them to email their answers to our questions to our email, instead of just replying on Online Jobs PH on the message board, it actually filters out the people who aren't reading the post. Oh, and there's one more thing I forgot to mention. The reason I wrote this as question 7 is just another way to check that they're paying attention. So if they're just sending a really quick reply and they're not really reading into your application, they're probably going to miss this bit and they're just going to send like a cover letter. that isn't really relevant. So that just filters out some people who aren't reading the post. Let's assume after a couple of days have gone by, you've got 40 applications. This would be an easily divisible number for us to go through this theoretical exercise with. So in my experience, you'll be able to remove about 3/4 of these simply by reading them. So there's going to be a lot of people who haven't listened to your instructions, a lot of people who are putting low effort into your applications, and this would leave you with around 10 strong candidates. So what it is time to do here is to formulate a new bulk email to each of these 10 people so you don't have to email them individually. So congratulate them on reaching this stage. And then what we want to do is ask them to produce a test task. So whatever books you're kind of going to be getting them to create, let's say it's like alphabet books, you want to tell them to make a few pages worth of an alphabet book, give them an example, show them how it's done, and say, hey, can you make me an alphabet book about this certain niche by this certain time, and email it back to me at X date. And that's all you need to do for this next step. So this basically is where we separate the men from the boys, and we're going to filter out the good designers from the bad designers. So this is really important. Then after this, there's likely to be around 3 or 4 people who fit the bill. They can design well, they've replied quickly, their salary requirements are accurate, and they seem like they're good, trustworthy people who we'd want to have in our organization. So here you can interview them over Zoom, or you can just kind of go based off your gut feeling, which is what I tend to do. But if you do want to go for Zoom, just to make sure that you pick the exact right person, then if you do 4 30-minute interviews, it's really not going to take too long, and it will be a great way to build rapport with these VAs. After this, you should have narrowed it down to the winning employee. So you want to congratulate them, offer them the job, and then send them the contract if they accept. I will leave an employment contract template below the lecture, but of course it is not legal or financial advice. And there's no guarantees that that contract is going to stand up in any meaningful way, but it's just an idea of what your contract could look like. You can also go on something like rocketlawyer.com and also find a similar contract there for a very good price. So now you've successfully hired your first virtual assistant. You've given somebody amazing, a really beautiful, fun job they can do off their laptop, and they're going to be very, very grateful for that. So now we're going to go on to how we talk to them, how we communicate with them, and how we keep track of what they're doing. So we're definitely going to need an email account, we're going to need Canva, and we're going to need Payoneer to pay them, or we can use PayPal optionally as well. Then we've got some more optional tools which are going to be time proof, which is basically the time tracking software. So if you use this software, what it essentially does is it screenshots their laptop or their computer periodically throughout the day to check that they're doing the work that they say they're doing. Now to me, this seems like a bit of an overreach and a bit controlling, so I tend not to use it, but it is a free tool that's included with onlinejobs.ph. So if you're the kind of person that wants to use it, then feel free to do that. Optionally, you could also use Trello or Slack, but I've always found email to just be really, really great. In terms of workload, you want to keep it quite light towards the beginning, just to make sure you don't overwhelm them, make sure you don't scare them, telling them that they're doing well, and maybe offering them some areas to improve as well, if you feel like there are some places where they could do better. What I tend to do is send them 5 days worth of work once per week, so that's usually on a Friday night or a Saturday night. And what this essentially does is it really frees up my time, because it means I'm not emailing them back and forward every single day, sending them instructions of what to do. So doing it in this way and sending them a week's worth of work at once, it really reduces the communication that's needed, and it just allows for more to get done, and everybody just stays focused much better. And secondly, in terms of workload, I tend to only get my VAs to produce the interiors for my books. Maybe this is because I'm a little bit paranoid and I don't want my VAs to know my pen names, because let's say we had a fallout, maybe they're going to start reporting all the books to Amazon or doing some daft thing like that. So I just get them to create the interiors, and then really quickly I can do the covers and the titles and these other things myself, or I can outsource them elsewhere to something like 100covers.com, or maybe even on Upwork. Like it says there, it's completely up to you. You can outsource every aspect to your VA if you choose to do so, and if you have trust in them as well. This bit at the top here I've pretty much mentioned already. Don't overload them at the start. Keep giving them reassurance. Say, hey, is there anything I can help you with? What problems did you run into this week or last week? Is there anything you think we can do better as an organization? And all of these little things just help them to feel like a valued part of the company, and it's going to give them trust in you as well, that you're going to keep them on for the long term and that you're not just using them to make a quick profit. This part here, I've already mentioned, this is about time proof. You can take a look at what it is on the Online Jobs PH website, but essentially it just screenshots their screen at random hours of the day to check that they're working, but I prefer not to use it. The one thing that I do love and rely on is Canva Pro. So it's $10 per employee on your team. And what this essentially does is, like, when they create an interior, I can literally see that being done in real time, and as soon as they're finished with it, there's no like converting between Photoshop file to Canva file. There's none of this kind of mess. I can just click create a copy of that interior that they've created. I can maybe make some adjustments if I want to, or I can tell them to make some adjustments, and then I have the interior right there and it's ready to upload to KDP, and it's literally just like magic. Now we're going to talk about payments and how we can pay the employees. So the two integrated options on Online Jobs are Payoneer and PayPal. They do charge like a 3% fee, which is kind of annoying, but there's not much you can do about that. How often should you pay your employees? I normally start with weekly or bi-weekly if it's a new VA, just because I wouldn't want to send them a month in advance and then for them to just disappear and run away. So you can slowly progress to monthly if you both prefer, as you build up that trust between yourselves. There is one last thing to note here. In the Philippines, there is a 13th month, which is a bonus that they expect to be paid if they've worked for you for like 12 months in a row. If they've only worked for you for 6 months, you'd pay them half a month extra pay in December. And this is so that they can get all their Christmas presents and they can do whatever they want over the Christmas holidays. So click on this article and have a read about how it works if you choose to do so. This is a great video that I watched from Online Jobs. I'm sure they have many, many more videos, but this one is around 40 minutes long and it has some amazing tips when it comes to hiring and working with your VAs. So give that a watch when you have a spare hour and make some notes from it, because it's a really great one. So that's pretty much everything you need to know. Like I've mentioned, there's a lot more resources on their Online Jobs blog and on their YouTube channel. You can give bonuses and salary raises at your own discretion if you're financially comfortable enough and if you feel like the VA is outperforming and doing really, really well. So let's talk lastly about hiring more employees versus firing any current ones that you have. So it's really a simple formula. The way to calculate whether you should hire a second, third, fourth VA is really, really simple. So what you want to do is after like 3 to 4 months, you want to see how much you've paid your employee in total. So it could be 400 times 3, it could be $1,200. And then you want to go and take a look at the royalties of all the bucks that they've made for you. So let's say they've made 20, let's say they've made 30 bucks for you in that time. You want to add up all the royalties from those bucks. And if the royalties are more or they're like close to what you've paid the employee, then you should definitely keep the VA because they're a profitable asset to your business, or possibly even hire more VAs. And when should you fire a VA? So let's say after 3 or 4 months, you add up all the royalties from the bucks they've created. And let's say it's like nowhere near what you've spent on the VA and you don't see any sign of it improving and they're like working really slowly or they're working badly or the books are low quality, then that will be the time to let them go. You just send them a quick email and say, hey, look, sorry, this is not working out. I'm sorry that we're going to have to let you go. And also try and give them some constructive feedback as well to make sure that they can do better in their next employment. This is the final slide, and I've just got the screenshot from MarketWatch. And this is for Apple, the company who makes the iPhones and the MacBooks. So you can see the revenue per employee for Apple is a 1.865 million. That's incredible. Now, I would imagine that the cost per employee is nowhere near that figure. So this is why you can see Apple has done so well, because they've got so many employees. And if the average revenue that each employee is bringing in is $1.8 million, then hiring is a supremely profitable activity for Apple. So it can definitely be for us as well, even though we're in a totally different business. So I hope you've enjoyed this lecture. I will see you in the next one. If you do have any questions, just drop them in the Discord or comment them down below this video.